We're all okay. We're all here and let's have a wonderful time. Let's make the best use of the next 90 minutes that we have with us. Thank you. Cool. So before even we start, let's just do the rituals. Let me set the ground rules. I know this is not a long list that I have, but just a few. First and foremost, I know this is towards the end of the day, and some of you have had exhausting days, and you probably would want to wrap it up early and stuff like that. So I'll try as much as possible. It doesn't go beyond the scheduled 90 minutes, but it all depends how free, easy, and free-flowing conversations that we are having. So yeah, I mean, I would sincerely encourage each and every one of you to please open up and share. I mean, all of us can really learn from each other's experiences, especially when we're talking about the idea of self-promotion. Second, I know today some of us would be taking our small little step towards talking about ourselves, talking positively and remarkable stuff about ourselves. So please consider this as a safe and confident space where you can talk freely and listen to others' achievements and stuff without holding any sort of judgments. Yeah. I don't want to scare you, but just a small caveat that some part of the content may be just a little bit, teeny weeny bit sensitive for some of us. So please feel free to take it in your own stride. I mean, if you want some time off or to step out, come back, I mean, it's all how you want to absorb the content. It's completely up to you. Okay, perfect. Anything else?
Shivani, I think just before we go forward,
Yes.
could we also take a group photo right at the start? So we have the group at the beginning and the end as well.
Yes, I'm wearing a nice bright color, so happy to take the picture.
Very nice. So if all of us could just turn on our cameras, if you want to use the background, it's there available in the chat. Daniel, if you could turn on the camera. Isabel, I know you're driving, so you stay safe. Daniel, are you able to turn on your camera?
Hello.
Okay.
Okay. No, the
Yes,
line is
yes,
bad. I'm using
no.
my. Hello. Oh yeah. Okay. Wait.
Yay!
Oh.
Okay, so everybody put on your brightest smiles. We'll take one smiling, and then we'll take one with a freestyle. So 3, 2, 1, freestyle. Very nice. And thank you everyone for the photographs. We will share this. And we'll wait till the end of the session to look at what are our last 2 sessions upcoming within the MAFA Facilitation Week. But other than that, it's over to you, Shivani.
Okay, thank you, Kathy. Thank you so much. Cool. So before even I jump into the workshop, let me ask all of you all, have you ever heard of this initiative, hashtag I am remarkable? I know we want to be the cool ones, so we're using the hashtag and all. But has anyone heard of this initiative before? Or this is your first time? I see most of you nodding, so can I assume everyone has
It's
heard?
my first time. Yeah.
It's your first
First
time.
time.
Okay. Anyone who's heard of this before? Nobody? Okay, Kathy, you?
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. So I think that's a good start. I mean, this just makes my job so much easy. So whatever I'm going to say, you're all going to believe me. No, cool. But jokes aside, but yes, this is an initiative. Wait, let me share my screen so at least it's easier for you to follow me. Just give me a moment. Okay. Is my screen visible?
Yes, it is.
Yes.
Okay, brilliant. So I think what we're going to do today in next 90 minutes is I'm going to start with some introduction about what is I Am Remarkable, because as I understand, most of you in the room today haven't heard about this initiative. But let me tell you, this is a very, very powerful initiative, and I'll tell you why. And you'll also discover in the next 90 minutes. And we will, of course, as a part of the session, we'll have some reflections, some exercises. As we go along, I'm also going to be sharing some of the research behind this initiative. Where did it actually come from? Where do we stand today? And more importantly, what sort of an impact it has had on the participants who've gone through this initiative. Yeah. But I'm not going to do all the hard work. I'm going to make sure all of you also get to do some of the hard work in the session. Yeah. So what is I Am Remarkable? This is actually an initiative which was started by Google back in the year 2015. So what they did is they had designed this workshop focused for the women who were working in Google, because they realized women weren't actually doing enough to celebrate themselves, to celebrate their achievements. And this session was such a super hit session within Google that very soon they also realized that it may not only be women benefiting from this, it could be anyone. It could be anyone. If you're part of any underrepresented group or not, anyone who's willing to learn the skill of self-promotion could actually benefit from this session. Yeah. And soon after that, this session actually expanded beyond Google as well. So what Google did is they went out and they created facilitators globally. Today, we are a community of 4,500 facilitators trained by Google who are called I Am Remarkable ambassadors and are certified to go ahead and do this workshop and spread this beautiful initiative to the rest of the world. So that's where it stands as of today. So today in this workshop, actually what you're going to experience is the skill of self-promotion. You're going to be, my hope is you're going to be comfortable towards the end of the session with the idea of talking about your own accomplishments and your own achievements. Okay, so before I get into the actual workshop, let me ask you, do you think recognizing or sharing your achievements is important? You can unmute yourself and we can talk. Do you think it's important or not important? Yes or no?
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is.
Yes.
Yeah? Yeah? Awesome. And why do you think recognizing and sharing your achievements is important? Any thoughts around that?
I think many a times we fail to pat on our back most of the time. You know, for me as a facilitator or a trainer, we talk about others, what they are good at, and we try to draw that out of them. But when it comes to me, it takes a little bit longer to do that, you know, because it's like we beat ourselves up. Oh, I shouldn't say we. I beat myself up a lot, and like my expectations are very high, maybe. You know, so I think it's from time to time to recognize my own strengths and weaknesses is very important. I think it's part of growing. So I think, yeah, sharing and most importantly, sharing your achievements is also good. Now I'm not a very good at Instagram or Facebook or whatever, but when I share my achievement, I feel a sense of accomplishment myself. The more I share with my friends and all that, it also helps me to build my morale up a bit. Every time I do something good and when I send it to my friends and say, oh, well done, I know you could do it and all that stuff. When it comes then it builds your self-esteem, confidence a little bit more than what it was before.
Absolutely. Absolutely. How wonderful was that, Elizabeth? I'm so glad you talked about it. I mean, beautiful thing is what I hear you say is, I mean, how you feel like your self-esteem goes up immediately, and you also in the process get to inspire others who are like, oh, wow, you've done like a fantastic thing, right? This is really, really beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. Anyone else? Why do you think recognizing and sharing your achievements is important?
Shivani, I think it's very important because it's also adding to what Elizabeth said. It's also being grateful to yourself, right? we having that gratitude for what you have done for yourself in your own life and what you've achieved. I think we always look past that and we don't spend enough time looking at what we have done for ourselves. So
Yeah,
that's why it's important.
absolutely. Wonderful, wonderful, Roshan. Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Anyone else? Okay, let me share some research here. You know, there's a research which says there are primarily three big reasons for why recognizing and sharing your achievements is important. First one is for our own self. I think both you, Elizabeth and Roshan, talked about it. Our own self-esteem, our own mental well-being, for our own confidence, for us to be grateful and have that gratitude to say, oh yeah, I mean, we did this. This is for, first and foremost, is for our own self. Second, it is for the others. You never know when you're sharing your experiences, who's getting inspired listening to your story. Even if it's at a small scale, doesn't matter. But there's somebody out there who's sitting and listening to your story and is like, wow, she's gone ahead and she's done that. And that gives me some courage to at least give it a try and see where do I land up with this. Yeah. And third is for our own careers. We're all facilitators. We have our own businesses or we're working in corporate. I mean, what will happen if we stop talking about what we do, what we've achieved? Are you going to be able to get more clients for your business? Even if you're working with a corporate, I mean, imagine you've gone through an appraisal discussion and we don't talk about our achievements. What's going to happen? Boss is never going to come and say, okay, I know you didn't talk about it, but you still deserve a promotion. Never going to happen. Client is rarely going to approach us. Even if I'm a fantastic coach, even if I'm a fantastic trainer or a facilitator, unless I put myself out, talk about what I've accomplished and how I can add value. Yeah. We all experience this every single day. But you know, the sad part is we still hesitate a lot of times to talk about what we've accomplished. That's the irony. And there's a research which says 82% of us, that's a huge population, 82% of us are not very comfortable about the idea of self-promotion. Now, let me open this up for all of you all. How comfortable do you feel talking about your accomplishments or your achievements? I love the silence
Very
every single time when I ask this question.
Very uncomfortable.
Yeah, right? Anyone in the room who's like, who also feels how Kathy said, uncomfortable? How many of us? Actually, I can both hands.
Yep. I guess it depends, Shivani. It depends on the situation. Individually is the outcome of culture and also social conditioning. But in an organization that is very competitive, looking for business results, it depends because when individually you contribute towards the collective achievements, and that makes whether the organization is really competitive or not. Are we really just a normal organization, or do you want to be the stellar performance or excellence, that kind of thing? So it depends again, situation. If you're in a situation where everybody is kind of, shall I say, conscious to brag about our achievement, then we see how the others behave. But in a competitive environment, I think the culture encourages you to talk more about achievements so that you can see the business results. That's for me.
Yeah, absolutely, JJ. I mean, that's absolutely, I feel the same when you say that. I mean, and there are two things that actually stood out for me from what you said. You used a word called brag about our achievements. Yeah. How many of us we feel we brag when we're talking about our achievements? Why do we feel we brag?
I guess, like what Patrice said, social conditioning. We were taught to be humble. Do not, don't have to talk so much about yourself. If you achieve, the action speaks louder than words. You don't have to go and advertise about yourself, That's how it has been. We've been brought up like that.
Yeah.
I don't have to show off, right? So I guess that is, for me, that is why it's very difficult for me to even post things on Instagram. It's like, oh, why should I post things? It's like showing off. Don't show off, right? So I think that is what, for me, I don't know about the rest. For me, that is one of the hindrance to talk about myself so much.
Yeah.
And another thing also, this is like, I don't know whether it's an Indian thing or not. You talk so much, you put yourself out there, people will put an eye on your achievement, they will be jealous, envious, and then those kind of things. It's an Indian thing, right? So that could be the thing as well. So I'm talking about social conditioning. For me, I think that is something that,
you know what? When Putri and Elizabeth, both of you were talking about this, I felt you're telling me my life story in a certain way. I mean, this is exactly how I feel. And that's with that belief, actually, my story of this initiative of I Am Remarkable began. And this goes back to the year 2011 when I was in between two jobs. And I was interviewing for this organization, which was for a very, very long time, was one of my dream organizations to work for. I was super excited when I got the interview call. And I was like, I'm not just going to give my 100%, I'm going to give my 500% for this, because this was like one of my dream companies to work for. I went through several rounds of interviews. And with each round, I was getting more and more confident to say, yeah, if they push me to the next round, I think that's a good sign. And went through the last and the final round with the head of HR. And this was for the position of HR business partner that I was interviewing for. With the head of HR, when I went through that interview, after that, I never got a call from them. But I'm like, okay. And suddenly, after 2 weeks, when me followed up with them, I got an email saying, sorry, we regret to inform you that you haven't been able to make it for this position, and we've selected another candidate and blah, 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 which was so, so, so disappointing. I could actually gather courage and I could ask them, please, can you give me feedback, actually, what went wrong? Because in my head, I was very confident that, yeah, all my interviews had gone so well. They put me through a series of assessment rounds, and in my head, I mean, everything was okay. So what actually happened for which, like, it just broke at the last leg? And the feedback, it still gives me goosebumps when I think of it. The feedback was just one line of feedback, which said, we're very impressed with your skills, with your talent, with your experience, but we are also looking for someone who can advocate and communicate freely about themselves, not just for themselves, but for the team as well, who can advocate themselves and for their team. That was the only feedback, believe me, that was given to me. And there was nothing else. It actually broke my heart. That was the first time I felt a heart pain, so to say. It was an actual heartbreak. I know I sulked over it. I mean, it took me a week to kind of get over that entire experience. But that conversation, or that one-liner in specific, the feedback, was such an eye-opener for me. And that started my journey to say, okay, now how do I build this skill? And I'm still on this journey, by the way. I still feel I don't want to brag. I still feel I want to be humble. I don't want to talk about my accomplishments, even though knowing the fact how important it is for me, for people around me, for my own career, for my mental well-being. But it still is very difficult. And that's what makes me more passionate to spread this message across and see if I can help people in their journey of self-promotion. So this all started back in the year 2011 for me. And I completely resonate with that feeling when some of you say you don't want to come across as braggy. You don't want to come across as boastful when you're talking about your accomplishments and when you're talking about your achievements. Yeah. So today, what we're going to do? I will just share a few tips as to how you can overcome that mindset, because all of us Asians, we are surrounded with messages saying, do not talk about your achievements. I mean, I've always, growing up, been surrounded by so many of those messages. It's not funny. And suddenly now today there's somebody who's standing in front of me and saying, forget all of that. And just tomorrow onwards, you need to start talking about your accomplishments. It's never going to happen. It's never, ever going to happen. But let's understand why is it important first, and what can we do to be able to talk freely about our accomplishments, still not coming across as braggy or boastful. Yeah. Very, very simple thing. It is not bragging if it is based on facts. What do you think about this? Any thoughts when you read this statement? Anyone? No thoughts?
I think it's a fair statement.
It's a fair statement.
It's a fair
Easy
statement.
to
If it's
implement?
not really, no.
That's where the beauty lies, right? Yeah. So actually, when you talk about your accomplishments, the biggest fear we as Asians, I feel, have more than anyone else is we don't want to come across as braggy. We want to be humble. We want to be nice. We want to be liked. And we don't want to be looked down upon saying, oh, she's braggy. Or so what? If you've accomplished this, there are 10,000 people who've done something similar or even bigger. Sorry, somebody's trying to say something. Okay. So let me, this actually takes me back to an instance that I actually encountered in one of my first organizations that I worked with. That was at NIIT Limited back in India. It was in the year 2009. So we had actually just gone through a huge reorganization, like across the entire group. And there were a lot of business units which were renamed, redesigned, restructured. And it was like a big change management sort of initiative that we had taken up on ourselves. So what happened? There was in the process one new business unit that was created. Now, what I was looking for was one of the PMs to take over the PM role for this particular business unit. I mean, we had few projects under this business unit to be implemented. But the only thing is we wanted a PM from within the organization who's at least familiar with the culture, who's at least familiar with the processes, because we had to set up everything from the scratch for this new business unit that we were coming up with. Now, there were two contenders for this. Okay. So there was this guy named Mark, and there was this girl, I remember her name was Sarah. So these two were very, very strong contenders for the role of PM for the new business unit. Now, what we did is we gave them few pointers and we asked them to come and present and talk about themselves in front of the executive committee and let them decide between the two of them who's going to take the PM role for the new division. Mark, extremely good project manager, has done so many projects and all of them were successfully delivered within the given timelines, within the cost budgets, like whatever was given to him. Excellent leadership skills. His team loved him, like all the right things there. Perfect values, has been with the organization, very stable, has grown, all of that. Great candidate. But when he presented, he actually, we felt, downplayed a lot of his capabilities. It was very plain, simple, straightforward in the sense, yeah, I've accomplished this. This is what has happened. And not talk about how he's achieved it. What are the sort of challenges? Like nothing of that sort. Sarah, on the other hand, she painted a very beautiful story and brought in so many elements from her experience of being the project manager. What are the kind of projects she's delivered? How she's dealt with the team, how it has grown. I mean, it was very nicely presented with a storyline along with the vision that she brings in for the new division that is going to be set up. Who do you think would have gotten selected for the role?
Sarah.
Why?
She spoke about her accomplishments and her contribution to the project, and not just meeting the expectation of the project.
Actually, let me tell you, both spoke about that, but what Sarah did, she added a lot of facts. That's what made her story compelling, and which made it more sellable. That was absolutely the only difference. And we ended up choosing Sarah over the guy, Mark. That was the only difference. Nothing else. You know, it actually happened in very recent times with me. I mean, I was in my last organization, I had done a pilot project. We were doing something in HR, and I had done a pilot project on one of the business lines. And then the conclusion was to roll it out globally across all the entities. So I was kind of identified to run and implement that project across. But you know what happened? I mean, entire year we kept talking about this. This was one of the biggest projects under my belt, and we had like so many town halls and I don't know how many meetings and where we spoke about this project. And this was like the biggest initiative for that particular business unit. And it was going extremely well. So every day I would get like emails saying, yeah, how it is progressing and how everyone's happy, great feedback, all that stuff. My appraisal discussion comes. So, of course, I also come from the similar culture as most of you. My mom has never taught me how to talk openly about my accomplishments. And this was one of the biggest projects that I had worked on in that year. What happened in that meeting? I hesitated so much to talk about this initiative, and I just like brushed it under the carpet. And I'm like, yeah, I'm just working on this project, no details, nothing. My assumption also was that was my mistake, that my boss already knows about it because she's the one who nominated me for Employee of the Quarter, Employee of the Year, and for that particular project. But to my surprise, that never even came up in the discussion that me and my boss had about my appraisals. It wasn't even mentioned once, and despite being the biggest project for that year. How do you think I would have felt? Horrible. I didn't sleep that night. It was actually very difficult. And my mistake was two. One, my assumption was she would know because I had worked under her leadership and she would remember this. Nobody remembers about your achievements unless you do it for yourself. Nobody is going to own your narrative. Nobody is going to talk about your achievement. That was a lesson learned the hard way. Yeah. Second, even if briefly I talked about it, there was no facts that I mentioned. What was my accomplishment, timelines, what was the key objective of the project? Did it meet its objective? Nothing of that sort. Nothing of that sort. Do you think I got the credit for that project in my appraisal? I was expecting a promotion on the basis of that particular project, considering the scale. I didn't get it that year. Although I got it the following year, but I didn't get that year. Okay, let me ask you something. All of you must have heard at least one TED Talk in your life, right? Everyone. TED Talk? Everyone? Some of you are TEDx speakers as well, I know. But all of you, I'm assuming, at least have heard one TED Talk. What happens to you when you hear any TED Talk, when you listen to any TED Talk?
Get inspired, charged
Get
up.
inspired? Yeah. What else?
They share stories, success stories,
Okay.
and share with us lots of facts to support the topic of the day.
Okay. Okay. What else? And how do you feel after listening to a TED Talk?
No, I can do that. Why am I not doing it?
right?
Yeah. Why am I not exploring different options? Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We feel inspired, and there are a lot of facts, there are a lot of stories that are there. Basically, let me tell you, I mean, I've listened to many TED Talks, and I'm sure so do you. But I've never in my life come across a TED Talk after which I felt, oh yeah, this sucks. I don't want to listen to this one. At least I've never come across this. I don't know about you guys. I've never till date come across this. Every single TED Talk I felt, and I'm like, wow, yeah, this is really interesting. Or sometimes even, yeah, if this guy has tried it and he's giving like these tips, I can also give it at least a try. Yeah. Basic premise behind all the TED Talks, one and simple thing. The TED talker, the presenter, has accomplished something. Either he's climbed a Mount Everest, written a book, or overcome a difficulty, or dealt with a challenge. I mean, anything. But there's something that he's accomplished in that situation, which he's sharing with a lot of facts, with his experience. And that is what inspires you as a listener. Why is it different for us? Why is it different for us? I know all of you are in reflective mode.
I guess it takes courage for one. And then for some of us who are not public speakers, it's a risk. We don't want to like look embarrassed or do something, well, not to be successful when we speak. And all those things, it's again the belief system and the value system that we have in each one of us.
Exactly. You're right, Putri. And I can tell you, this is not going to happen overnight. This is a muscle that needs flexing. And honestly, I can go on this topic for like days together. 90 minutes is definitely not enough. But today, what we're just going to do is touch the tip of the iceberg. But there's a lot of practice that we need if you're not comfortable with the idea. Because I know in our culture, talking about accomplishments is equal to bragging or being boastful, which is not what a lot of us want to do. So only simple rule and nothing else works. What works is add facts to your achievements. All of you go to conferences, all of your facilitators, all of your trainers, right? What do? You use a lot of tips, and you depend on a lot of storytelling, right? To introduce your topic, to facilitate some of your sessions. There's a lot of storytelling that's happening there. We feel that's going to engage people. That's why a lot of us depend on that. But actually what's inspiring is, yes, you're engaging. Also in the process, you're giving a lot of facts. And that is why when you as a listener, when you listen to somebody in a conference or any forum who's talking about their accomplishments and giving a lot of facts, it doesn't come across as boastful. I'm sure, like me, all of you also have come across people when they introduce themselves or talk about anything about their accomplishments, they come across as braggy. But on the contrary, there are many, many, many others who don't. The only difference between these two set of people is the way they act, the way they present the facts to support their accomplishments. Nothing else. As simple as that. And only one thing which is going to get you comfortable with this idea is self-practicing. This is not going to happen overnight, because all of us, we've lived our whole life surrounded by messages. This is not good to do. This will make you come across as braggy. This will make you come across as boastful. And now somebody who's asking you to do the reverse of it, what you've lived with, what your belief system says, what your values say, and what you've seen people in your family do this all this while. Right? For example, our parents, I mean, when I look at them, I come from the same sort of values background. I've been told not to talk about my accomplishments, don't come across as braggy and stuff like that. It absolutely used to work for them. It has worked wonders for them, I would say. Because back then, the environment that we live in, we work in, wasn't that complex as it is today. One career path you choose, and that's the only career path you grow in. I mean, for example, my mom, my dad, they've whole of their life, they've stayed in one organization and kind of grown in one role itself. The complexity was of the work environment were pretty simple. And now today, there are so many factors, the role that technology plays, the mix of generations that we have in all the workplaces. It is not as straightforward. It is not as simple what it used to be. So the values that have served them well not necessarily will also serve us well, and that goes beyond to our children as well. That's the whole difference. That's the whole difference. Any thoughts? I just want to take a pause here. Any thoughts, anyone?
Even though I've been through the session before, but I think, oh wow, have I gone into the background?
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's okay. I'll be fine. I was just saying that, even though I've been through this session twice, or even going through it for the second time, I think it's so easy to forget that I have done this. And it's not like I'm creating something out of thin air. That messaging, that limiting belief is still so heavily ingrained, right? Like, don't be proud. Talking about yourself equals to you being proud and equals to you being a show off, and nobody likes to show off, etc. All of those messages are still so ingrained. Yeah, but being reminded that it's facts, it's irrefutable, and if I don't talk about it, you know, who will? How will anyone know the value that I can bring and the way that I can serve spaces? So, yeah.
Yeah. Don't worry, Kathy. We're going to practice this just in a while, and I'm not going to leave all of you all till you're at least little bit comfortable with the idea of self-promotion, and you've practiced it for yourself to see how it works. As I said, I mean, yeah, it is not easy because these are the beliefs that we've spent our whole life with. And largely, even our environment today is still surrounded with a similar messaging saying, don't be boastful, don't be a show off and stuff like that. And we also don't value those behaviors if somebody else is trying to do. Yeah. So only thing is it needs practicing and nothing else. Have your role models or play around like with the skill. We may fail, but that's okay. That's okay. Eventually you're going to get better at it. That's the only way to get comfortable with this. And we are going to practice this just in a bit. A small round of practice. And in this safe space today, so at least you get comfortable with that idea, but create your, for example, accountability partner if that helps. Or practice with yourself. I mean, sadly, there is a research that also says, I think I shared at the beginning, 82% of us are still not comfortable about this idea of self-promotion. And that's honestly in my head is a huge, huge number. It's a huge number. I mean, I've been actively practicing this from the time I embarked on this journey of I'm remarkable. But today, if I put a hand on my heart and I can say I'm very comfortable with this idea, no, I'll be lying to myself and I'll be lying to all of you here. I'm still on this journey. And I don't know how long it's still going to take for me to be absolutely comfortable with this idea. But yeah, I'm learning. Thankfully, I am surrounded by, I'm surrounded with a lot of people who act as role models for me. And I'm like, yeah, I think the way he does is so inspiring. Let me at least try. Yeah. Cool. I'm sure this statement is very, very familiar. You've heard it in your homes, you've heard it from your parents, from your friends, and people surrounding you. Accomplishments do not, let your accomplishments do the talking, but the truth is, accomplishments do not speak for themselves. Who knows your story better than you yourself? Who knows it better than you? Parents, friends, our boss, our trainees, our coaches, mentors? Who does know your story better than you do? Honestly, nobody. And then who is responsible to bring that out? Is us, ourselves. Yeah. Any examples, any stories that you wish to share from your personal experience? Anyone? Where you found it extremely difficult to talk about your accomplishments? Anything that comes to your mind?
Shivani, just want to share, maybe because I am uncomfortable talking about my accomplishments or about myself. Sometimes it is also very uncomfortable listening to people who talk about themselves, like in every example, oh, I have done this, I have done that. So I come across like, I feel that they're coming across like, oh, you have done everything. It's like sometimes I feel, so how much more is he going to talk about himself or herself kind of thing? Or maybe because I feel uncomfortable, so I'm not comfortable listening when people are talking about their accomplishment. I feel it's like too much. So maybe I'm not used to the idea, but that's how I feel when trainers or facilitators say, "Oh, I don't mean to brag, but this is what I've done." So sometimes it comes across too much for me.
Yeah. And you're right, Elizabeth. I mean, there are many ways, like a lot of them, simple example, for example, all of us, when we go and attend any conference that we were talking about, right? Just a few minutes back. So a person can go on, I mean, he can come with like 5-pager and his introduction can take like forever. Oh, he's been doing this, or this is what he's accomplished and all of that. And a lot of times just listening to that, you feel, yeah, this is braggy. And on the contrary, if somebody if somebody takes a slightly different approach and weaves a story around this and then talk about the accomplishments, who do you feel is actually you would want to listen to and follow? The second one, right? Yeah. And of course, if we're not very comfortable, that's what I said at the beginning. I mean, I may not be very comfortable with the idea of coming across as braggy or boastful. And hence, I don't appreciate that trait when I see in somebody. And that's not what we are going to follow. On the other hand, what we are looking for is how do we make our introductions or how do we make our accomplishments sound engaging by adding facts so that we don't come across as braggy. And Elizabeth, trust me, it only needs practice. It only needs practice. It is that small little muscle that has to be built, which has never been exercised for most part of our lives. And that's what is making it harder for all of us here. Nothing else. If you sit back, if you think about it, what's making it harder for you? It's only the lack of practice. It's only not getting comfortable with the idea that, yes, talking about our own accomplishments can be done in a soft, subtle way, which can come across as non-braggy. But mind me, I'm not saying hiding your accomplishments. You may have achieved 20 things and that you wish to talk about, but that doesn't mean you'll only talk about 5 or 7 out of those 20. But how do you kind of weave a story, add facts so that you give context to this? Personally, I'll tell you, it's almost been 2 years since I've been out of a full-time corporate job. And I've been involved in a lot of initiatives, but again, I find it very hard when these days somebody asks me, okay, what do you do? Like, So earlier it was very easy. Oh yeah, I work with this organization in this role and like this is what I do. Very, very easy to kind of talk about it. But these days, even my introduction sometimes can become very challenging. I'm like, yeah, I don't do this. I do a little bit of this, little bit of this, little bit of this. And how do I define it? How do I kind of make the other person understand? And then if I talk about all of these 10 things that I'm doing, doesn't make sense. I mean, the person may think, okay, she's like talking about anything and everything under the sun, and like she's just trying to tell me how she can do so many things together. So what I initially started doing was I started hiding it, but then I realized that's not the way. So instead, looking at a different approach to say, how do I make it engaging, or how do I add facts to say to quantify what actually I'm trying to achieve during this, so to say, a break from corporate. That's the whole idea about this. Just getting comfortable with this thing of accomplishments, talking about accomplishments can be non-braggy, can be done in a soft and subtle way, only by adding facts, one. Second, practicing. That's the only way forward. I hope it addresses your point, Elizabeth.
Can I share something from my personal experience?
Yes, please.
In the 80s and 90s, in an oil and gas industry, is always male dominated. And it was only after the economic recession when the boys' grades were not coming forward and the girls excel. And the accomplishment of the girls in the exams was super, super good. So scholarships were offered to more girls to enter into professions, being an engineer and geologist, so forth, in the upstream. And that is where we as women then, I am one of those who said, like, we should give the girls a chance. And talking about the accomplishment of these girls from their not only academic, but they went to study abroad and they came back with the best grades they had. We had to promote their accomplishments, to say to the management that let these girls be engineers and geologists and be on the rig. It took so much of, imagine, 3 decades to prove to the male management that girls are also accomplished in their respective professions. So again, we need a push for this. And I think the global trend shows that women can excel once they share their accomplishment. Thank you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Very, very beautifully put, Putri. I mean, thank you so much for sharing that. Yeah, I mean, especially in last couple of decades, there's so much of work that has gone into ensuring women are visible doing what they're doing. And trust me, I'm not saying it's easier for men, but I feel it's harder for women to talk about their accomplishments sometimes. And the only thing that I can look back is the values and the messages that we've always been surrounded with. And imagine we've lived like years and years surrounded with those messages, and how much work that we need to do to overcome that mindset, to ensure we transform and we feel comfortable talking about our own accomplishments. And trust me, nobody else is going to do it for us. Nobody else is going to do it for us. But thank you, Putri, for talking about this. Thank you for sharing.
Maybe if I can share as well.
Please.
I remember when I finished my A levels and I got a couple of distinctions in my A levels, Form 6 A levels, and I felt I didn't want to talk about it because I was the only one in the family that had got that education up to that level. And inside of me, there was a turmoil. I mean, do I tell people when people asked me? And I struggled with just sharing that I had got through my exams. And if I remember, I remember my mom after a couple of months saying, hey, when so-and-so asked you whether you got through the exams, you hesitated. And I said, yes, I did. And she just said, we should be proud rather than anything else. And for me, it was my perception of it rather than other people looking at it and going, celebrating my win. It was just, I put it on myself. That's
Yeah.
just my lesson learned for that little story. Lah.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Daniel, for sharing that. I mean, yeah, a lot of times that's what happens. I mean, because of our conditioning, we try to delimit, I mean, to limit our own capabilities or talk or refrain from talking about it. And that's not serving us in any way. That's, trust me, is not serving us in any way. Yeah. As you said, we should be proud of what we've accomplished, no matter how big or small it is. Trust me, for some days, even getting out of bed in the morning is like, oh my God, I've accomplished something. On the other days, I'm like, yeah, I'm all out to capture, I mean, to conquer and transform the world today. But that's okay. Both days are equally good. Like whether the accomplishment is big or small, accomplishment is an accomplishment. Yeah, cool. Anyone else who has any story, any anecdote, or any instance that you wish to share with us?
Shivani, if I may, I think it's a matter of sometimes we have this imposter syndrome, right? We do it to
Our
ourselves,
favorite.
and the expectation sometimes of the surrounding. It could be a family, a friends, and so on. So I think, for me, that was what was coming up in my mind when I was thinking about it. Right? So sometimes we do it to ourselves, and not thinking about it in a more positive manner. It could be small, it could be big. I didn't climb up Mount Everest, but it's an accomplishment still, right? So it's just I like what you mentioned, because it's more of getting that into practicing it, so it becomes you become used to it in that
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah, thank you, Roshan. I mean, that's absolutely right. But let's understand, where does that imposter syndrome feeling comes in? Where does that kick in our heads? It's how we look at ourselves, how we're training ourselves to look at our accomplishments. Are we really proud of our accomplishments? Let me tell you, I know the world is not fair. I know sometimes it can be cruel, but there are people out there who are happy for you. A lot of times I feel I'm not happy with my accomplishments, but people I'm surrounded with are happier about my accomplishments. There are more than what I can imagine people who are encouraging me to try different things. I mean, just yesterday, Kathy and me, we were on a call, and this is exactly what we were talking about. And I'm like, yeah, there are a lot of times when I feel low, and there are people around me who pick me up and were like, no, you're doing so much. This is what you're doing, and this you should be happy about. Then I'm like, actually, yeah. I mean, how many people are doing this? It is how we train ourselves to look at our own accomplishments. I mean, just your story reminded me of a very, very recent example. So in my previous organization here in Malaysia, I had a vendor that we used to work with. Brilliant guy. Like, I mean, absolutely wonderful guy. Even I went to an extent to kind of offer him a full-time role within the organization, but he refused. Brilliant, brilliant person to work with. And I met him at one of the conferences and in the dinner at the networking event, like where everyone just gathered up and people are talking about what they do and how they do it and what they've accomplished in a very casual manner. So when this guy, he was also standing there and he so much downplayed what he does. And later I spoke to him. I'm like, Alex, what's wrong with you? I know you do so many things. And why didn't you even talk about like even 5% of what you've accomplished? I could actually talk more about your stuff that you do and how wonderful you are at what you do. And this guy, a simple statement, he's like, Shivani, I'm just not very comfortable with this idea because I feel everyone standing there was boasting or was bragging. And I wasn't very comfortable doing that because I've never ever seen that in my family, and I've been conditioned that way not to talk about it. And this is reality. All of us, we go through this every single day. Every single day. It is not just that vendor, Alex, that I'm talking about. It is us, our story, every freaking single day of our life. But again, only way to move forward from where we are is practicing. You're all remarkable in your own beautiful ways. I can tell you, all of you have accomplished like so much. Some of you I recently connected with on LinkedIn. And I was reading through some of your LinkedIn profile. I'm like, oh my God, I wish I could do half of what you've done. Like, and I'm sad to see that when I asked this question at the beginning of the session, how comfortable are you with this idea? And not even a single hand went up. That for me is very, very sad. I can tell you, all of you in this call are so remarkable in your own ways. I mean, I can't even explain. But only thing we need is just practicing this small little skill. And I'm sure in your coaching sessions, in your training sessions, you do talk about this to your participants. But somebody, I think at the beginning of the session said, it's very easy for us to go and advise, but hard for us to practice it for ourselves. Yeah? But it does need practicing. That's the reality we can't run away from. So maybe let's practice right now. Now we have how much time left? Okay, I think, yeah, we have about 30 minutes. Let's spend next 30 minutes practicing this skill, what we've learned so far. Okay? Sounds good?
Sounds good.
Before that, Shivani, I would really like for you to talk about yourself, brag about yourself. What would you say if you're going to talk about yourself?
Okay.
Well,
so,
before we start practicing, so I would really like to hear, what would you say about yourself?
Okay, so maybe I'll do that, Elizabeth. That's a promise. I'll do that before we close the call. But let me do this as a part of the practicing exercise along with all of you. Does that sound good?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Thank you. But are you all ready to just do a little bit of practice? Comfortable? Okay, fantastic. So let me just bring out this screen. So what I want all of you all to do, a small little task. Think about ways what makes you remarkable. So I want everyone to just write 2 sentences. Look at whole of your life. Just look at 2 instances or 2 things that make you remarkable. One from your professional life, one from your personal life. It could be anything, absolutely anything, whatever you feel you're proud of, what you've accomplished. One small caveat. Please, let's not look at the physical attributes. Oh, I'm remarkable because I have a nice hair, or I have beautiful smile, or I have perfect jawline. None of that stuff. No physical attributes. All of you are handsome boys and beautiful girls here. But let's put that aside just for a while. And let's think of the experiences that we've had. Let's think of the decisions that we've made, what brings us here, where we are today, and what we're really, really proud of. Minimum 2 sentences, one from personal life, one from professional life. Can? I can sense a lot of discomfort here.
Do we type it in?
You can either put it in the chat, or you can write it on your notepad. My only suggestion to each and every one of you as you're doing this exercise, please let loose. If you're wondering what to write, or something comes up in your mind and you're like, should I not? Please write. Please don't discard. Whatever it is, doesn't matter if it's big or small. Maybe it's as small as saying just getting out of bed every morning. That is remarkable for me. That is what I'm proud of, because I'm not a morning person. But if I have to wake up at like 5 o'clock every single day, I'm like, yeah. It could be anything, absolutely anything. We're just trying to flex that little muscle of self-promotion. Okay, I see some of you're thinking. So let me give an example. Okay, let me give my own example. So I am remarkable because I recently started writing a book that I have been procrastinating for more than 5 years now. Although I've just written the introduction, but that's okay. That still makes me remarkable. Yeah. Okay. Another thing from my personal life, I am remarkable because first time ever in my life was last week when I went to the gym for 5 days in a week. I managed to do that for the first time in my life. Does that give you an idea? Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So let's take a few minutes and let's do this. All of us. 2 statements starting from the phrase, I am remarkable, one from your personal life, one from your professional life.
Shivani, I've done it wrongly.
Sorry?
I've written something in the chat group that says I didn't follow. I should have waited for your example.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I haven't been reading the chat at all. Wait, let me go back and see. Awesome, Putri. That's really nice and inspiring. Let's give others a few more minutes till everyone's finished this exercise.
Shivani, your third rule just now says some things can be quite sensitive. Maybe for some of us, we can share in smaller groups rather in this large group. It's just a suggestion. Effie, what do you think?
I leave the call to Shivani.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Because some of us may not be comfortable doing this in a big group. I don't know. It's just an assumption, a perception.
So let's see. Let's go through this first and see if people are not comfortable. Maybe we can do that towards the end. We can do that separately with them. But idea is right now, I mean, this is a very safe space and a small group of just 14 of us in the room. Let's at least try and get little comfortable with this group. And trust me, whatever we discuss here is absolutely non-judgmental. And all ears to you. Only thing that I promise you're going to get from this group is encouragement and nothing else, to be talking freely about yourself. That's what my promise to all of you all. Let's at least give it a try. One small attempt. If you're comfortable, you can put it in the chat, or otherwise you can just put it on your notepad or anywhere. You can keep it to yourself. Everyone done? Or some of us, we still need some time? Anyone who needs time, can you please just raise your hand or unmute and...
I need about 30 seconds, I think.
Okay, cool. Take your time. Everyone else done? Okay. Cool. Now, I'm going to be that person who's going to ask you to stretch it a little further. Yes, I am that one. I'm sure some of you anticipated this coming. Cool. So, if possible, can I request everyone to turn on their cameras, only if you're comfortable, people who are not on the camera. Okay. So let's Yes, thank you, everyone. So now it's time to take it one step forward. But before that, let me ask you, how did it feel writing about your accomplishments?
For me, not easy. And I suddenly forgot what I had achieved.
Yeah, brain freeze, right?
Yeah, I didn't know where to start.
Yeah, right. What about others? How did you all feel when you were writing about your accomplishments?
It feels good.
It feels good? Yeah. Was it easy? Difficult?
I would say a bit difficult.
Bit difficult?
Because, we've been brought up in a way, especially in my culture, to be humble, and especially as a woman. Yeah.
True.
So, yeah. No?
Took you a while to kind of think of what you want to put down there.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Okay.
I think I also realized that, my initial I'm remarkable statements, it was almost like qualified only when I'm in service of other people, and not something for myself. So I think, reading other people's I'm remarkable statements in the chat really helped me get out of that assumption that I'm only remarkable if I'm in service of others or if I'm doing something in connection with others. So
yeah. Inspiring, basically. Yeah. Nice. Cool. So now let's do one thing. Now let's share what we've written on that piece of paper with everyone else in the room. Whoever is comfortable can start. I don't want to do name calling anything. Please don't get me to do that, but I leave it to all of you all. I would encourage everyone to talk about their accomplishments because I want to hear about your remarkable journeys personally. Anyone can start.
Can I start? So get the ball rolling or get it over with.
Sure.
I am remarkable in a career point of view, because I just completed a group sharing for about 100 people, group coaching over 6 months, and I did my final session today. And I'm really proud because I never knew I could do a coaching session for Asia Pacific region, and it was very, very how shall I say? I never thought I could do it, and I did it. So I feel that I'm really, really it was a very I don't know how to say it, but it was really fulfilling to know that through my sharing over that 6 months, I had made some difference in some people around Asia Pacific. So
wow, that's awesome. That's awesome, Elizabeth. That's so awesome. You're not just proud of yourself. I'm sure we all are proud of what you've accomplished.
Thank you.
Yay. Yes, please continue.
And on my personal side, I think I'm remarkable because I think I'm a very creative person. I'm a very creative person. Yeah, that's it.
Yay. Awesome. And I know being the first one talking about accomplishments also makes you courageous in this room. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for get the ball rolling here. Thank you, Elizabeth. But that was really, really wonderful to hear. And I know doing a coaching session for 100 over people is absolutely not easy. This is great feat, honestly. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Thank you. Who's next?
I shall bite the bullet and
go ahead, Mel, all yours.
All right. I am remarkable because I bulldozed my way through some projects which no one else wanted to do. So I took it on, I finished it, and I am proud of myself.
I love it.
All right, the second thing, on the personal front, I am remarkable because I made the brave decision to quit my job last year and to be my own boss. So I am very pleased with myself with that.
Yay! That's amazing. I love hearing these
Fantastic.
stories. Yeah, I really, really love hearing these stories. Thank you, Mel. This was fantastic.
Thank you.
Awesome, awesome. You know, sometimes these stories for me as facilitators are personally so inspiring when people talk about their own accomplishments. As we said right at the beginning of the session, you don't know from your story who's getting inspired. And personally, uh, I mean, I don't know how participants feel after such sessions, but after every instance of I Am Remarkable, I go back inspired, motivated, and even like charged after every instance of I Am Remarkable that I facilitated. But thank you, Elizabeth. Thank you, Mel, for sharing this with us. And I'm already looking forward to all the other stories that are coming in. Yes, who's going next with their remarkable story?
Okay, let me go. Okay.
Sure.
Yeah. So sorry for being late just now because I was walking really fast to get back to the hotel. So
I'm glad you made it safe there.
Yeah. So I am remarkable because I started a podcast during the pandemic when all of us were sitting around at home. And it was something that I had pitched probably about 9 months before when I was in a leadership program in Hawaii. And when the pandemic started, it gave me this idea that, well, there's nothing that no one can say no to me, right? Since you're all sitting at home and the people I wanted to interview were just at home. So I started it despite not knowing anything about podcasting. And I just used even this, I think these are the same earbuds that I used from the very beginning. Of course, now I have other equipment, but I think it's interesting how we all second guess ourselves before we start. But as you get into that journey, I think that makes you braver as you go along and you start thinking that this is possible. So my second part of, I think you asked about one personal and one business. So I guess that consists of the business side of things. But the second part is I'm also quite resourceful and no will not stop me.
Okay, I want to stop you there.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
I am remarkable
Okay.
because
I'm remarkable because I'm highly resourceful and no will not stop me. And I will always find a way. So the no's will never, like no way to buy equipment, right? No way to buy a microphone, right? Well, just do what I have with what I have, right? So that is how I started. Yeah.
Oh, that's so amazing. And for somebody like me who all through the pandemic was sitting and binge watching Netflix and Amazon Prime and Disney and Hotstar and all that stuff, there's somebody who started her own podcast. I mean, how inspiring is that? Thank you. Thank you for sharing this. I
Thank
so
you.
love it. How many of you knew about her podcast earlier before she talked about it? Or did you guys discover just like me now?
Daniel knows about it.
Daniel knows
I
about it.
just
I
found
see
out.
Kathy's hand go up. I see Patrice's hand go up. But some of you didn't know about this, right? Yeah. How amazing this is. I mean, we know each other for so long. I mean, at least for some time. And we still have a lot of stuff to discover. And this workshop beautifully unveils a lot of those hidden secrets in everyone, what they're trying to do. By the way, what's your podcast name? I'm definitely going to go back and check you up there.
Okay, it's called Womenpreneur Asia, where I interview Asian women entrepreneurs across Asia, which
Wow.
fits in exactly with what I do, which is entrepreneurship and women's development and women's leadership. Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. I see Kathy has put it there in the chat. I'm going to copy that, and I'm going to definitely look up
Thank you.
later after the workshop.
And please give me feedback.
Thank you so much for sharing your remarkable story with us. Thank you. Thank you so much. Who's going next now?
Yeah, I can go next.
Sure, Daniel.
Hello. Oh no. Okay, yeah. I'm on. Okay. So for me, professionally, I am remarkable because in one of my roles in the organization, I traveled to China. It was on my buckets list. And in China, I influenced four talents to stay in their roles, and 3 of those ladies right now are CEOs of organizations.
Wow.
Oh, hello. Okay, never mind.
Wow.
I just switch off my camera lah, got my line
Okay.
Okay, so the personal one, I'm remarkable because I gave up my corporate role to take care of my mom who had Alzheimer's. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you, Daniel. Thank you so much. More power to you, and I hope your mom is doing well.
She's so well, she's in heaven, I think now, but it's okay. she's good. Oh dear, she's lovely.
We're losing him. Daniel, are you there? Okay, never mind. Till he gets back on the call, we can move on. Who's the next? Who's the next one? Who's the next one? Telling us their remarkable story.
I'll be happy to go.
Go ahead, Kathy.
Okay, so I am remarkable because I don't shy away from difficult situations, conversation, and people, especially when facilitating groups, and this happens, quite often. But when facilitating groups, I'm able to quickly recalibrate my emotions, my reactions, look at what's happening in the room and empathize with the need, and also challenge people with the intention for the group, right? The group safety and for the group to move effectively forward. So yeah, I think that really does make me remarkable.
I actually experienced that with you, Kathy, in my first conversation, how seamlessly you put me at ease, and we spoke at length about anything and everything under the sun.
Thank you, Shivani. I take that.
Thank you for sharing that. Thank you. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, and I think, personally, I am remarkable because I feel and think deeply, and I have a big heart towards people. I am curious, and I am playful and loving. So, and also resourceful, because
resourceful, yes,
that out loud, and I won't forget it.
Resourceful, yes, we just saw that. Thank you, Kathy. That was wonderful. That was really, really wonderful. That makes you a wonderful, wonderful person. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, who's next?
Me.
Go ahead, Selva.
Okay, listening to all the inspiring story, I'm also that want to share mine. I'm remarkable because my physical limitation doesn't stop me from traveling and also do what I does the best, inspiring as well as a developing talent across the countries, across the region.
Fantastic. More power to you, Selva.
Thank you.
Yes, please go ahead. Personally,
I'm still keeping my records
okay,
because
sorry.
I'm grown up.
I'm so sorry. I am remarkable because...
Okay, I am remarkable because I'm still keeping the record. Because my background is from estate. So far, the highly educated one from the estate. So I'm holding an MBA under the human resource management. Wow. So no one broke the record yet.
Wow, awesome. That's so nice to hear, Selva. Thank you so much. Thank you. Who's going next?
Let me go next. Okay.
Please, go ahead.
All right. I'm remarkable because I realize I can actually make difference in people's lives by allowing them to believe in their own potential and believing that they can do anything that they want. Okay, that's professional side, all right? Okay.
That's the biggest superpower, making people feel empowered and getting the best out of them. I feel that's the biggest superpower. Thank you. Thank you. Please go ahead.
On the personal side, I'm remarkable because I'm still keen to learn, and all this while I've just been doing coaching, but I've decided I want to expand my mind, and that's the reason I joined MAFA. I'm quite a new member. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you. Trust me, I mean, these are all so wonderful stories, and these are like coming from all of us in the room here. Right? I mean, it's so beautiful. And I'm absolutely, I think, probably the newest member here in MAFA. I don't know, Kathy can validate or Roshan can validate that. But I mean, through these stories, I'm getting to know all of you all so much better than what I had known before. Thank you for sharing all of these with me. Thank you. Yes, who's next? I don't think we've covered everyone yet.
I'll go next.
Sure, Roshan.
So, professionally, I'm remarkable because I am creating a program, growing a program, an entrepreneurship program that serves the underserved communities in Malaysia. And that involves me traveling to underserved states, underserved communities. And not an easy thing, but I think that makes me remarkable.
Truly, it does make you remarkable, Roshan. That's so inspiring. Wow, that's wonderful. And please, if you think I can be of any help for this, I mean, never ever hesitate to reach out. That's wonderful what you're trying to do.
And for sure. And personally, I am remarkable because I have started a bit of self-care. I've started meditating in the morning, trying to center myself before I start my day. I think it adds a lot of calmness and a lot more clarity in the way I think, because of busy schedule, traveling here and there. I think I need to do that for myself, and I've started meditating in the morning just to clear my thoughts before I start my busy day. So remarkable for that.
Amazing. Wow. So I mean, just very recently, actually last year only, I started meditating and realized the power of meditation in our life. And it's truly magical once you get used to it. I couldn't do more than 10 minutes, but I mean, that itself was like, wow, it used to help me so much to get through the day. Thank you, Roshan. That was like really, really wonderful to hear your remarkable story. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. Anyone else?
I'll go next.
Isabel, yes, please.
Yes. Okay. I am remarkable because I am learning to take time off for myself without feeling guilty. Yes. Yeah, it's just past this month. Yeah. The past month or so. That's personally. And then career-wise, I am remarkable because I've volunteered with this reading program. So I'm actually working with a child who only speaks Tamil. So teaching her English and Bahasa, which is very challenging.
Wow, that's really, really cool.
The plus point is my Tamil is improving because I have to translate to in Tamil. And she's also improving in English and Bahasa.
That's the best. Yeah. No, both of you are like learning through this journey. That's the best.
Yes, we are.
That's the best. Wow. How wonderful. And like this child is based here in KL, or you're doing it from...
She's in KL.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And how old is this girl?
She's 7 years old.
Oh.
A tiny one. Yeah.
Wow.
So yeah.
Teaching two languages to a 7-year-old, I can imagine how challenging it would be.
Correct. Twice a week. And there I go. I'm not only teaching her, her brother's also sitting in the class and he's also listening. and sometimes they are correcting my Tamil. So I'm like, okay, this is a win-win situation.
If you're looking for more like students, count me in for Bahasa for sure. I want to learn Bahasa.
Okay, sure.
Thank you so much, Isabel.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Anyone else who hasn't spoken yet? Have we covered everyone? I think yes. Okay. So tell me something. How did it feel talking about your accomplishments? How do you feel? Isabel, you're talking on mute.
I'm just talking out loud. Actually, it felt good.
It felt good, right?
Yeah.
How about others? How did it feel?
It's kind of a new experience.
Yeah. Because nobody asks us about our accomplishments. What makes us remarkable? Yeah. Daniel says, I felt lovely. But you know how I felt? I really, really felt inspired listening to each and every one of you. There's so many interesting things that you guys are onto, and it's so lovely. It's really, really so lovely listening to all of your stories. How do you feel after having listened to so many remarkable stories?
Feel very inspired actually. First, liberating for myself because
Yeah.
you're able to share something like that, what you've achieved, but also hearing from others, right, makes you very, very inspired.
Yeah.
Some of those ideas that you thought about before and someone has actually done it, and that gives you maybe an avenue to connect, an avenue to talk about that particular thing to that person. So yeah, inspired.
Absolutely. Absolutely. This was like really inspiring personally for me. I mean, listening to each and every one of you, what you're onto. And like, this was just one small part of your life that you talked about, just 2 sentences. Imagine how much more is yet to be discovered for every one of us in this room. And right now, in last 20 minutes, what we experienced is flexing that little muscle of self-promotion that is within us. Remember, when we started writing about our accomplishments, a lot of us were uncomfortable. A lot of us didn't know what to write. And we started belittling our achievements to say, no, this is not good enough. This is okay, I can put in and stuff like that. But as you practice, as you listen to other people, as you talk about your own accomplishments, it just gets easier. So it's all about practicing and flexing that muscle for ourselves. Thank you so much. And I know I overshot by a few minutes, but this was absolutely lovely listening to your stories. And this brings me to the close of the session. But before we say bye, can I request all of you all for a small favor? I'm going to flash a QR code on the screen. It won't take you more than 2 minutes. If you could just give me feedback, that will mean the whole world to me, seriously. Yeah. Thank you. Let me pop that QR code for you here. Where is it? Yes. So that's the QR code. The link is also there. It will ask you on the first screen to put my facilitator ID. Kathy, I'm not able to access chat. Would you be able to put in, it's capital S, Shivani, capital S, 514843. That's my unique facilitator
Just
ID.
repeat that again. So it's Shivani.
No, S, only alphabet S, capital,
Okay.
514843.
Okay. Is
Yeah.
that correct?
And this is absolutely an anonymous survey. So even if I won't be able to access names or whatsoever. But more importantly, what I want is feedback, because it really genuinely helps me for my next sessions. And thank you so much for spending your evening with me. I'm not sure if all of you had your dinner before the session or you're going to have it after the session or whatever it is. Enjoy the rest of the evening. And it was really lovely talking to all of you today. Back to you, Kathy.
Thanks, Shivani. Once everyone is done with the feedback, we'll also just take a group photo since some of us were not here in the early half. But let's put our hands together for Shivani, and thank you so much for giving us the courage and allowing us ourselves to have permission to speak about how remarkable we are. Thank you once again, Shivani.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks to all of you all for planning this session in the facilitation week and having me here with all of you remarkable people. And having said that, I would love to, I know I'm connected with some of you on LinkedIn, but I would love to connect with the rest of you. Let me share my LinkedIn. Let me put the link there. Just give me a moment. I'm just putting it up there. I'm sorry, all of you had scanned the QR code, right? I just took it off. Sorry.
Got it.
Okay, great.
Can I ask, they're asking
Oh
for
my
a
God.
facilitator ID?
Yeah, that's in the chat. S514843. That's the facilitator ID.
Emmy, I'm just tagging you in the chat.
Okay.
Do you see that?
And that is my LinkedIn. Please feel free to connect and keep sharing your inspiring stories. And I would love to stay in touch with each and every one of you.
How do you get valid date, huh?
Sorry?
What?
The date of workshop.
Today's date.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
the American format. So it's month, date, and then year. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, done.
Okay, we'll take a quick picture before everyone starts dropping off. And also Shivani's LinkedIn link is in the chat. So we'll take one quick picture. So if everyone can just roll your shoulders back, find your best comfortable position, and flash your brightest smile this evening. I'm going to take the picture in 3, 2, 1. And one more with all of our gang signs. It's the freestyle, okay? 3, 2, 1. Very nice. Thank you, everybody. Thank you once again, Shivani. Thank you to each one of you for being here. And I truly felt really inspired. Hearing each one of your short stories also gave me the permission to unlock my own story. So I am truly, truly grateful for each one of your stories and your presence over here. Thank you, everybody.
Thank
Good
you.
night.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Take care.
Night.
Before we wrap up,
Good
sorry,
night.
sorry, I forgot. I'm supposed to talk about the next session as well.
Oh,
Our
okay.
our next session is on the 26th, and it's going to be on neuroscience in facilitation, and that's going to be conducted by Nandini Ghoshal. It will be at 8 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. We look forward to having you there next week, and then of course we close our session on the 30th, which is a Saturday. So the timing will be 9 to 12 p.m. In person. So we look forward to meeting you then. Take care, everyone.
Bye.